Welcome to session. And once again, as I say this week after week, this is not a substitute for therapy.
We're therapists, but not your therapist. Sucks for you. I'm just kidding. Welcome back to our new session, our latest updates. Do you have anything to share? Oh, well, I'm also holding the mic here because. Also, please ignore any talk about the mic because we ended up not even using the audio due to difficulties. So please bear with us. Thank you.
How was the week?
It was good. I'm tired.
How was the game yesterday?
It was good.
Looked so
Honestly,
fun.
I went for the bag. It was Hello Kitty night. They had a cute little bag, and I wanted the bag. We left a little early to avoid all of the traffic. I don't know. I think it was a pretty chill game. There wasn't like too many exciting moments.
Who were they playing against?
The Nationals.
That's a dumb question, but is that a team?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's the team.
I thought it was like,
I don't know where they're from. Washington, maybe.
It kind of sounds like, oh, it's like the Nationals, like
the
games.
Yeah, they're the semifinals now. I think the season just started. I think so.
Oh, I don't know anything.
But it was nice. It was the weather was nice. So.
I know that on Saturday the Dodger game got delayed.
Did
I
it?
know that, yeah. For like 2 hours. I don't know
why. The weather.
The weather.
Oh yeah, it was bad.
And people were like waiting still to like watch the game, and I mean, algunos I'm sure que se fueron, right? Yeah. Haven't been to a Dodger game in like forever, so.
I hadn't gone since before COVID.
The last time I went was I don't know if you remember, CLU used to send random emails like,
I
tickets.
do remember.
I remember I jumped
for
on
the alumni.
I was like, oh, I'll take them. I'll take them. And my husband and I went, and that was the last Dodger game. I think it was like 2016, 2015.
Yeah, dang.
I need to go again.
Casi. Oh yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. So that's
it. Yeah. Not much else. ¿Y tú?
Okay. It was my sister's baby shower. That was a lot of fun. It was nice celebrating her. I went to the rancho yesterday when my dad had his horse. He was telling us that he has a ¿cómo se llama? A coleadera on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I haven't done this.
I think your thing's on mute.
Oh.
Talk? Yeah.
Hello?
Hey, she was on mute. So you're going to notice.
Again, please ignore talk of the mic. Thank you.
I'm still learning. How did you know?
We're all still learning because I didn't see the lines moving when you were talking. It was just like that.
I didn't even know.
I'm good. See how when.
Oh, yeah, I can see it.
And yours wasn't moving.
Well, the audio will be a little wonky.
But now you know.
Yeah, he hasn't done like that, the sport, like the coleadera, in like 2 years. So he's excited. He's nervous.
What is that? Like when they...
How do I describe
it? Coleadera?
Se llama coleadera.
Coleadera.
So sacan like vacas and then...
you rope them.
Yeah, kind of, but like with your hand.
Oh.
And wherever you kind of bring or knock down the vaca, that's where you get your points.
Gotcha.
So like the wall will have like certain numbers, and wherever the closer to where you start, like the start line, so all the men line up with their horses here, and then at the very front sueltan la vaca, and at the same time el guy, like el jinete en su caballo y la vaca tienen que darle at the same time to try to bring down la vaca. And obviously the sooner you drop them, the more points you get, because you want to drop them like earlier versus at the end. I know this is probably going to be like controversy because I know they're trying to ban it. I don't know if you saw it on TikTok too. A few months ago or last month, they've been trying to ban it because they're saying it's animal cruelty and all of that. But it's a sport that has been in la charreria for many, 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 many years. And yeah, so I know this might be a little controversial of a topic.
It's because I don't really like do any of that stuff, right? So I mean, I think I'd be like, let's podcast, you know, so I couldn't watch
No
it.
se lastiman. I mean, honestly, los que salen lastimados, honestly, son las personas coleando. Like, my dad's hand is, like, all messed up.
Oh, really?
Because el pelo de la vaca de la cola les corta la mano. Because it's so, like, rough. So they wear a bunch of, like, tape or, like stuff to try to protect their hand. Because it's, like
whips them, huh?
And it's like rope, or así se dice, right? Like rope burn.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then they're like, como se dice, like montando, and they're like sideways trying to like agarrar la cola a la vaca, so they could easily fall and salen más lastimados ellos. You know, I'm sure because some animals do. I don't want to like say que no, pero por lo general.
But your dad's like practicing for that.
Oh, my dad has, and my dad has been doing it for years, and I love watching my dad.
Yeah.
Like that's, and I feel like nowadays, like we can find something to, you know, say like, oh, it should be banned, or about like literally anything. Like a microwave should be banned, or like the food at schools should be banned, like certain things, you know what I mean? Like I get it. Like I'm obviously for the animals too. Like we love animals at my house, and if you know my dad, you know he's like an animal lover.
I mean, like you said, if we really want to go down every single alley of what's wrong with what's right, like I think there's a lot of arguments that we could, but not today. Anyways, so that's exciting.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I love watching him. I mean, he's getting older, and to be able to see him get excited about something he's done for many, many years, like, you know, it's exciting. Hopefully he'll be able to go see him.
Where's it at? Here
in Santa Paula.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know like they did all that stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
Ciertos ranchos like lo ponen de vez en cuando. It was supposed to be for Sábado de Gloria, but it was raining, so they kept postponing it.
Well, that's a good update. I think our parents hold a soft spot, right? Mm-hmm. So I think when they're involved in stuff, we really want to support them.
Yeah, for sure.
And believe in them. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
No more updates for me. I think today we wanted to explore. We did get some topics, and we're wanting to honor that you guys reached out and you guys really shared what you guys wanted us to talk about. So one of those was gender roles. And again, this could go so many different ways. There's a lot. I mean, there's so much in there. There's culture, there's stereotypes, there's our day and age now, and I think those roles are changing, and there's also like the traditional. And so I think it's just so hard because some of us like the traditional stuff, but a lot of the traditional stuff is very oppressive to women, right? And it's also very stereotypical to men.
Yeah.
So I think there's all these podcasts of men, right? That they're like, oh, I don't know if you've seen it, obviously. They're like, don't give men microphones because they talk all this smack about like how a woman should know her place and a man should do this and that. And they're talking about how you haven't seen it. It's like a huge controversy that a lot of men have these podcasts and they talk about how they want all these expectations for women.
But to say like, don't give a
because it's really bad. Sometimes like they're saying like these women shouldn't like talk back. We shouldn't give them like all this, you know, like very oppressive to women, and then they can go out and do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Or like a woman's value is only when she's with a man. Like that kind of a view where they're really oppressing the woman. And so I think it's just it's very interesting, right? I think it's just like, and I hate this because I think as therapists we give this answer a lot. It all depends.
Yeah.
Because everything really does depend. There's like a lot of different contexts, right? So like a woman might be okay with staying at home and being a mom and that having that be what she is for, and that's all she does, right? And another one might not want to do that. Yeah. And so I think it all just depends on what you as a couple or and not even as a couple, right? But just in general, like the woman role and the men role. I will say that a lot of what I've seen is a lot of empowerment, focusing on a lot of empowerment for women.
Yeah. Well, I think like if you think about it, like we could take it back being first gen ourselves, right? Like I'm just speaking from my personal experience, my personal opinions, and being a first gen. As a mujer, I feel like I have a lot more privileges than my abuelita did,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like we talking about like empowerment and stuff. Like back in the day, like, you know, se las robaban. Like would we nowadays like accept that? Females now.
If it's the right one, róbame.
Take me.
Me voy y te abro la puerta. I'm just kidding.
I mean, I guess that makes sense.
But you
like,
see what I'm saying? How it's like, pues si me conviene, which again, I know it's kind of like, it's not very black and white. There's a lot of gray.
Yeah, there is a lot of gray. But I also think it's important to also honor the reality that not that long ago for some of our families, like las mujeres didn't have a choice. Y se la robaban por mala onda.
Which in some cultures it still happens.
Yeah.
In some cultures they still do like arranged marriages and stuff, and I think a lot of people, I mean, our culture, well, I don't know, I haven't experienced that personally with anybody that I know, like an arranged marriage, or maybe I do and they haven't told me, I don't know. But some cultures are like, well, this is how it is and I'm okay with it, or like I just accepted it, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's something we have as a privilege, to have a choice of who we get to marry. And I think also it's a little bit more like social.
Sorry, I don't think you could hear me swallow, but if you did, ASMR. My water.
Oh God, I hope my laugh is not like over the top, because de por si ya soy bien loud.
I'm drinking some liquid IV, okay? That's what I swallowed, my liquid IV. You took it there. I was not even...
Again, I was referring to the mic because the mic was next to me. But again, thanks for bearing with us, guys.
Anyways.
Oh gosh, okay. I can't even focus.
Ooh.
I'm getting hungry.
I'm good.
I'm not now.
Put your mic on mute.
No, que luego se me olvida.
Just kidding, go.
Okay.
She's so mature. We were talking about...
I'm getting hot.
Maybe we have to take an intermission.
Oh God. Okay. What were we talking about?
You were talking about how it's a privilege that now we can pick, or not pick, to get married or not to get married. I don't know.
Well, actually, both. Yeah. Like I feel like.
Although, go ahead. Just make me think of something.
Because I feel like before, like, at least I've heard in like las mujeres in my family of like, oh, if I was not married by like 21, se te va a ir el tren, se te va a ir whatever, and like people would like add that pressure to a female in that sense. Where I feel like nowadays it's more common for couples or women to not get married until later in life.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. I mean, whatever you choose, it's okay. We all have different beliefs, different values, whatever is best for you.
But it's not to say that people still don't communicate that. I think there is still like, you're getting old, when are you gonna have your kids?
Yeah.
Your biological clock is ticking, and I think we're slowly trying to break out of that, right?
Yeah.
I think more so our generation, which there is some truth, obviously, when you're older, maybe there's different complications with your body wise, right? But science has also come a long way where they can help with that. But I do think socially and culturally, there is still that pressure that you have to do it at a certain age, or like as a woman you have to have your kids, and also comes with like, I guess this is kind of gonna get me, this is like my soapbox, that I think maybe there's a disconnection between our generation and my parents' generation, where why is the woman the one that has to take the kids to the appointments all the time? This is your kid as well, right? The mom has to ask for days off.
Yeah.
You can too, right? And so it's like this thing where I don't know where I saw it, but it was that this man took his son to the dentist and didn't know anything about his son.
Yeah.
It's like, this is your son too, and the wife is the one that has all the references of this and this happened. So
Yeah.
this, you guys share this child, so you guys should share this responsibility, or you guys should know this about your child. And
Yeah.
I think maybe that's more of a gender role. That's more of a concrete example of a gender role that's been pretty much, I think that's to the majority. I don't think many dads, and props to the ones that do. I know there is, but I think it's almost as a default that a woman takes on these duties. And it's not that a man can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's that a man hasn't. It's not the norm. It's not a role.
I'm going to argue though.
Okay.
I also think though how many females actually allow the male to step up in that role.
That's true. But why? Why hasn't she allowed it?
Control, maybe?
Maybe.
Because we just know how to do it faster, or...
Because we don't want to teach them.
Mm-hmm. So I also feel like it goes both ways too. I think that that's where the communication has to be con la pareja.
Right.
Because I agree 100%. Like, they both should know, like, the medical history or presenting symptoms or whatever of their child.
That's true. As a mom, maybe you feel more fulfilled knowing that that's your job and that's how you fulfill that role.
Because I think that it could also kind of go back to the gender role.
Yeah.
Well, you're the mom. The guilt of like, well, what do you mean you're not taking them to the doctors? What do you mean dad is going to, you know what I mean? That could also be part of the gender role that like has been kind of placed on females, where we sometimes like, and I'm speaking for myself only, okay? Like, I'm going to probably be saying that throughout.
And this is good because I think that's how you learn. You have other people's perspectives, right? Like, she's like, I'm going to argue. But then that's what we're here for, because we want to learn other people's perspectives, right? And I mean, I guess I it would be safe to assume that all this is coming from our perspective.
Yeah.
And our experience. But we're not. It's not like we're set in these perspectives, you know.
For sure. And I feel like it may also change the moment I'm not a mother myself. And I feel like it may also change maybe my perspective if and when I become a mom. Like, yeah. I may have a change of heart and view it differently because now I'm going through it and I'm living it. Where I could be like, never mind. Now,
yeah.
Now I want to change.
Very different. Maybe
yeah.
When you have kids, it changes. You have this ideal of how you would like it to be.
Yeah. But I going back to that, I do think part of it is we also have to allow men to figure out their role. Figure out their role as a parent. Mm-hmm. They may not get it right the first time, right? Like, maybe because mom already knows, like, I will to, like, callar al niño, like, you gotta bounce him like this, or you gotta do this, or you gotta whatever. Like, sometimes you need to let maybe the dad, and I've learned this.
I like the way you put that, allow them to figure it out.
Yeah, because that's what it is. And I feel like, and I'm only saying this because I have a lot of experience working with families. I'm trained in positive parenting program, and I would hear this all the time. And I ran so many groups like for a county that I would always hear dads say the same thing. So I have like a soft spot for dads because I feel like they're often not heard. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the most common thing that I learned was that I'm not really allowed to, because then like salgo regañado, or no me deja, or se frustra conmigo, and then they intervene right away and they don't let me figure it out. Which made me think, like, how many times has that happened? Like, and I think it happens a lot because I would imagine as a parent and you're dealing with like a screaming child throwing a tantrum, like, you just want like the child to be like calm, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. That maybe if you know how to calm the child down, it could be frustrating just to sit and watch maybe the other parent try to navigate and figure out what works for them. Yeah. And you just want to jump in and intervene. But I also think that part of the process is, like how I said earlier, is to allow them to figure out what works for them.
I'm listening. I'm just trying to color coordinate with you. Yeah, I think that does make a lot of sense to allow them, and I think sometimes you're right. When a baby's crying, you don't want to have to teach somebody how to do it. Do you think that maybe this is a big question and it's not like at you, but it's just I'm thinking out loud. Do you think for men it's harder to learn that role than for women? Like why would a mom instinctively know how to do something for their child and then have to teach the dad? Shouldn't the dad also? Does that make sense, or is that because the mom wants it done a certain way?
I think it could be maybe a little bit of both.
Mm.
Because I feel like, and
we're just throwing darts out here,
Yeah.
obviously.
But I think it could be maybe culturally. Like if we're looking at it, I'm just thinking from my culture, from like, like typically la mujer es la que se encarga de todo eso, de los niños y todo eso. So I think like naturally, well, yeah, don't you think? Like the woman would then want to step in and like do all these things. But I think it's also again, I'm not a mom, but like I would assume it's an instinct, right? Like,
yeah, but don't dads have an instinct?
Yeah, I'm sure they do. But
where is it? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I mean,
I just feel like they think that for moms they just know what to do, and moms also have to work at, like, why do you think there is so much mom guilt, right? Like it is work for them to figure out how to be a good mom. How do I handle this situation? How do, like, oh my god, I fucked up how I handled this and now my kid's gonna be scarred forever. So a mom also has to go through those steps and that psychological stuff to figure out how to be a mom. It's not like I was born to be a mom and I know how to do it. Like a mom also has to figure it out, right? And I think for maybe that's why women, I don't know what I was trying to say. I know what I'm trying to say, but I don't know how to say it. Because we were talking about how maybe it is instinct. It's not. Mm-hmm. So therefore, we shouldn't just default to the mom doing all of those things, because a mom has to learn how to balance all of that, So I guess my point is like a mom does have, just because we're women, we don't know how to be like automatically moms. Mm-hmm. Right? So as a dad, you shouldn't feel like you can't be a good dad because you don't know how. Like we're not like, women don't automatically know what to do. I mean, we are very smart, but I've never been a man. I'm sure you guys are smart too. I don't know. So yeah,
and I'm not laughing because I don't think you guys are smart. I think men are very smart.
All I'm saying is both parents have the ability to be an amazing parent, but I don't want men to be discouraged to think, well, I don't know what to do in this situation, therefore I'm not a good dad, right? What I'm trying to say is moms also, I'm assuming, face those situations where you're like, I don't know how to do this. Let me figure it out. Right?
And I think maybe something as women, what we could do, again, I'm going to just try to say something to maybe help the men in our lives, like to encourage men to explore that part of them, right? Like to feel more comfortable. Then it's also not our job.
But I thought you wanted a strong man that doesn't cry.
No, que llore. Quiero que llore. Quiero que sienta sus sentimientos. Yo soy tan emocional.
I was just being like I'm not saying she's ever said it. I'm just saying I'm just throwing out an argument.
No, I think that that's sometimes that's maybe what we think, right? Mm-hmm. Like growing up, or men, we hear that all the time, right? Like men don't cry, or most often the more common feeling that is kind of socially acceptable for men to show is anger, right? Like strong, machista. Like, no, men cry, men have feelings, men are disappointed, men, all the feelings we experience, they experience too. Yeah. So a lo que iba is like, it's not our job, but I also think if we love the men and around us, our fathers, our husbands, our brothers, our guy friends, like our primos, whoever, like, why don't we also then, as women, allow men, and this is just my argument, okay? Why don't we also encourage the men in our life to open up to us? Yeah. Because I also think sometimes we could belittle by like, ya vas a empezar a llorar, like, ya va a llorar, quiere llorar, or like whatever, like.
I don't say that.
Well, I'm not saying. I'm not referring to
I'm
you.
just kidding.
I'm just saying like examples.
Yeah. Pero desde chiquitos, pues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like nos burlamos, and we shouldn't. We shouldn't do that. Like I know I'm guilty that I've done that, and maybe because it at that point, not anymore, because I feel like that's something that I really work and when I see a man opening up and you know, like they trust me, and I really value that, and I think the fact that like if someone is able to feel safe and vulnerable with you,
Absolutely.
I feel like what an honor that is, you know? And I think maybe we should do that. Maybe we should all work together. You know, men encourage women to find their voice, to seek their independence, to feel empowered as mujeres, because as mujeres, we still face a lot of unfairness, a lot of, you know, like discrimination just because we're females, or a lot of different things that they don't experience, and vice versa.
Well, what
right?
do you think when there's and I mean this might be controversial, but a male therapist is gonna have a full practice before a woman would, because there's not a lot of males, or like if it's 3 women trying to.
I mean, just think about when we were in grad school, how many
I know exactly
men were in our program, in our cohort.
It was like 3.
3.
Yeah,
that's it.
And so all this is to say that men are very valued in this field, and men are needed everywhere, right?
Sure.
And you guys are capable, and I think there is a lot of just community, right? I think that the most important thing is community, and as long as you guys, everybody feels welcome and everybody feels understood, that's where that trust happens. I don't know where I was going with this, but all to say, men in this field in general are very far and few in between, and their input is very valued.
Mm-hmm.
So y'all can do it. You know, it's just that, again, maybe it is breaking out of that norm and that cultural norm that feelings are not like automatically connected with men, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know where I'm going with this. I was just thinking out loud. I think a lot.
I think that was a good point.
I'm rambling now. But yeah. Men, we will be your shoulder to cry on.
Yes. And honestly, I think like como dije like anteriormente, like why can't we should lean on each other.
Yeah.
We need each other, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there is definitely some strength in men that as women we sometimes lack, right? I think maybe sometimes we do function very differently, but it doesn't mean that we can't learn to understand each other, right? And I guess that's maybe the whole purpose. Like, you have to learn. You do have to understand each other. You have to communicate with each other. It's very, yes, it's not easy, but it's doable.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes women are very logical. And men are like, just do it.
Yeah.
It's fine. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
And that could be a misconnection. But as long as you acknowledge that that's a misconnection, like, hey, when I'm really confused and I need to figure things out and you just tell me to do something, it just feels like very dismissive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the way that we communicate is different.
And different doesn't necessarily mean it has to be bad or, you know?
It just means you have to
learn each other's
find
style.
a way to meet in the middle, find a way to express those differences. And I always say, approach things with an intention.
Mm-hmm.
And once you notice that intention is getting lost, bring it back to be like, hey, this was my intention. I did not mean to hurt your feelings, and I'm really sorry if I did. And that seems to work.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about women working in construction?
What do I think about that? I think it's great.
Fine, right? Who cares? That's a gender role. That's like a gender role, right? Because like a woman.
I actually think that's really cool.
I know.
I wish I knew like some. I mean, I know how to build a desk. Like, and like
Me too. I mean, I can still build things that I would rather not. So
Yeah.
again, that's an example where like, are you a hypocrite because now you are letting a man do the building when you could easily do it? I thought you wanted to be independent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I do think there is a lot of overlapping in like what these gender roles are and what they mean. And sometimes we're like, no, equality for everybody. But you know what? Not when I want you to bring in the groceries because they're heavy.
Cuando nos conviene.
Exactly. And so and I recognize that that's a problem. And,
Yeah.
well, not a problem, but maybe like it's a good argument.
Could be
it's a good point
Uh-huh.
where it's like, well, no que viene independent y luego cuando you want me to do the hard stuff.
Yeah.
And again, it just has to do with communication, right?
Yeah. But I also think like, okay, I'm going to go into, I know everybody
You're gonna
has...
be the devil's advocate.
No.
Oh.
I've already played that. I've already done that.
Okay.
But I also think like, ¿qué iba a decir? Oh yeah, like I also think it depends on the dynamic of the relationship
Mm-hmm.
and the individuals too. Like some females maybe thrive more in their masculine energy. So therefore maybe they may attract, and I'm just talking about like heterosexual couples, because I'm sure it's different, but so in heterosexual couples, me trabé con la palabra.
Straight couples.
I think like what I was saying was some women may thrive in their masculine energy, right? And maybe like their partner may be a little bit more like feminine or vice versa. Like, or some women may really want to just be in their feminine energy and they needed like a real masculine, like man. But I also think like, I think it's kind of like a spectrum maybe, because I feel like we're all so different. Like, what is, even as I was saying, I'm like, well, what does that really even mean? Like,
I even thought, wait,
like,
a masculine, but then don't you want him to also have feelings? But no, because that's not very masculine. So it's very, even as therapists, I feel like it's really hard to narrow it down. I think you just want to feel safe. And I think whatever your safe is, you determine that with your partner. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel safe because he
or she.
Yeah, so he or she does this for me and that makes me feel safe. I feel safer when I do this, even though blah, blah, blah. So I think maybe that is the whole point, is like feeling safe, understood, loved. And then for everybody, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
For somebody, they might need a really masculine man that can do things physically for them, and then therefore they feel safe. For other people, it might not be physical. For other people, it might be just gentle, right? Because maybe in their life they didn't have that. Or,
gentleness,
again, it just depends.
Yeah.
So yeah, gender roles. We did such a therapist thing, and we're like, it just depends how you feel safe.
Well, I think safety is the most important thing.
Yeah.
At least for me in my relationships, like I thrive. I think as we all do.
Yeah.
Like in any relationship, romantic, friendship, whatever, like if safety is provided.
You're supposed to feel good. If a relationship, friendship, whatever adds stress to your life, you're questioning things like, what does this mean? Why aren't they doing this? And do you want to have that kind of person in your life? Your relationship should enrich your life and not stress your life out. And again, this is when maybe there is relationships in our life that we can't get out of, right?
We can or we can't.
We can't. Like, you can't get, like, somebody will always be your family member. You cannot interact with them.
Yeah.
But they will always be your family member. So you have to come to a understanding in your life as to how you're going to approach that relationship, right? Friends, I guess, I'm going with like the very stereotypical thing of blood. Like, your family will always, unfortunately, or fortunately, be your family.
Yeah.
But your friends, you can pick and choose, you know? And so you either way, whatever relationship you have to come to an understanding of how you're going to be in that relationship.
But I also think, again, I'm going to argue.
Okay.
But
Why?
But I also think, like, when it comes to family, like, you can have your own chosen family through friends. Because not everybody,
I'm talking like the literal meaning of family.
Okay.
Like, they're your blood. Like, you were born into it. That's what I mean with like, yes, I could have my friends that I will, like, they're better than my family.
Uh-huh. Oh,
I
okay,
could
okay.
have that.
Okay.
But I mean, like, your family, right? Like, your cousin will always be your cousin.
True.
You can decide to no longer have a relationship, right?
Yeah.
But it takes, I guess with everything, right? It takes like that awareness of like, hey, by default, they're kind of going to be in my life. I'm going to see them sometimes.
That's
maybe,
true.
right?
Yeah.
But I've decided that this relationship doesn't serve me a purpose, and this is how I'm going to approach it.
Yeah. Which I think kind of maybe we could talk about that too, like in regards to like stereotype, or I don't know if that's necessarily a stereotype, but like, pero es tu hermana, pero es tu prima, pero es tu mamá, pero es tu papá. Like, it's almost like we're expected to excuse poor behavior.
That's where those boundaries, I think that's, I don't even if I finished, but I was saying, and that's where those relationships where like you can't escape them or you feel that pressure, that's where you do have to have those boundaries. And that's why they're harder within family.
Yeah.
They're harder to apply because they feel like they got a free pass because they're your family.
And no, they don't, in my opinion.
No, absolutely not. It's a lot harder because people are like, what a bitch, or like, I come on, like, what, give them a free pass or like whatever. And I think that's why it's harder.
Honestly, I'd rather be la mala del cuento than for my peace to be disrupted. I will never like tolerate that, like, for my peace, or if my mental health is being impacted. I don't care if you're my sister, my cousin, my whoever you
Parents
are.
sometimes, unfortunately. Yeah.
I will protect my peace. I'm very selective, and I feel like I didn't learn that honestly until my late 20s going into my 30s, because being a people pleaser myself, recovering people pleaser, I'm still working on that. I feel like I focus so much on like el que dirán, or wanting to like keep the peace, and I'm not here for that anymore.
Yeah, and I think
Y que me critiquen, I don't care.
Who cares, right? Like, I would always say, si dicen eso de mí es porque no me conocen, and it's because they don't have the privilege of knowing me, honestly. Because, but I do think that takes time. It takes time to grow into being unapologetically who you are.
Yeah.
Because, again, don't be mean, that's mean, or like, que te hicieron, así no son, or like, it's but like, your sister.
Like, the other thing is like, whoever's saying these things, like, have they ever thought about like, what do they do for you? Like, if it's your sister, if it's your prima, if it's whoever it is, like, se han preguntado qué le hizo esa persona for this person, just using it as an example, for you to set that boundary with them? Because I'm sure you're not pulling this boundary out of thin air.
Right. No, you're just supposed to excuse it because it's family and that's what you do. Or no, and I agree, but I think it's those comments that make you question your sanity sometimes, right? Because you're like, for example, this is like really offhanded, but I was at a job that I just did not like, and I was like, everybody else doesn't seem to understand why I'm unhappy here, so is it me? And then I was like, okay, then it is me, and I'm unhappy, and it's not, and I'm gonna make what's the best decision for me. So I left, right? Because it was just, I would say something, but nobody else would. And I'm like, okay, then, like, am I crazy for not seeing what they see? But no, sometimes it does take that acceptance of like, yeah, well then it's okay if I'm the only one that doesn't like it, then I have to do something what's best for me. Yeah.
True.
We're all over the place.
We are. It's kind of tied, right?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's all connected. Gender roles have to do with how you were raised too, right? If you saw that a mom did all that stuff, cooked, let herself be, que le digan que hagan, or something like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes that is.
And I also think like we also have to, like, again, respect if I may feel like what if your perspective is like, I know, ¿para qué le cocinas a tu esposo? Like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing
that?
But
I like it.
Yeah, but what if I like it? Like, what if that's how I show my love? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, cada quien, I guess, is different. And that could be, right, one of the love languages, like acts of service. Like,
And you very well would be like, I'm okay with these norms. I like being a woman and I like embracing that. I like this part of being a woman, but I really don't like that. Or
yeah.
I do like it, Ike, right? And I
Yeah.
think at the end of the day, that is, again, depends, right? But if you enjoy it and you feel like that you are being given what you need in a relationship to also provide in that way and make your partner feel taken care of, and that's how they feel taken care of, you know, then you are.
Because what if he takes care of you in a different way? Like,
Yeah.
why not, like, reciprocate in the way that we all love or like to get, to receive love?
Mm-hmm.
That's what relationships are about, right? Ultimately, like, we give love to that person that we're in a relationship in the way that they like to receive it, not necessarily the way that we like to receive it, but it's learning their love language.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember this. It was in grad school. I think you were in this class.
What class?
I think it was like marriage class, marriage, and I don't even know what the class was called. With that teacher that told her, well, it's up to you if you want to lose your grade. And then she went to the dean and said, you guys triangulated me. ¿Te acuerdas?
Oh, the girl that had a medical emergency.
Yes,
class.
and that she wanted to go first.
Yeah.
I think it was in her class. No, it probably wasn't.
I was with you in that class.
I know, but it probably wasn't in this class because this was actually very good.
Oh.
Or like it stuck with me because she said, it's not usually what they do. It's like the meaning behind it. So I think, or was it Dr. Holder? I don't know if this was something she would have said, but they said something how it was like in the house there's all these dishes,
Mm-hmm.
and the mom is super overwhelmed and doing all this stuff, and the dishes are still there, and the husband's just watching TV or something like that, whereas the husband goes and does the dishes, and then she's like, but it wasn't even about the dishes. It was about the fact that he saw, oh my God, she's so overwhelmed and I need to help her out. And she didn't even have to tell him because he understood. And so that really stuck with me because it's not always about like what you do. It's like what the intention was behind. Kind of like it's not always what you say, it's also how you say it.
Yeah.
And so she's like, you think is with the dishes? You think she's always gonna remember, oh yeah, he did the dishes, but do you think it was really about the dishes? She's gonna remember like, oh my God, he really helped me out when I needed him, or he was really able to connect and understand like, oh, I needed this help.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I thought about that. Oh, because you were saying like how you make people feel loved and like,
I mean, I try.
Understood and stuff, you know. So I always say that it's not really necessarily always what you do, but like how you make that person feel loved and understood.
Yeah. Relationships can be complicated. Any relationship, family, friendships, romantic.
We are complex beings.
Mm-hmm.
So there's gonna be up and downs, and I think it's also realizing like what is your shit to deal with on your own, right? And what is shit that you do need to deal with that person, right? Or like, and I think that's really hard to sort through sometimes, you know, because we're fueled by a lot of stuff.
And what role we continue to play, and maybe some of these patterns or cycles that continue to come up in our lives.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm also siempre like, well, like I'm like, but what about this, you guys? I don't want you guys to think I'm like this bitch that's like, no, blah, 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 blah. I just always like to be the one that da la contraria sometimes. They're like...
But I feel like that's a good thing. I feel like we should all kind of...
But I'm nice, I swear.
You are, and I feel like it's good to have esa voz that, like, not necessarily porque quieres alegar, because I'm guilty of it too. Like, alegona or peleonera or like, oh my gosh, just like, this is what it is and that's it. Like, I just need to know the why. Or like, you know, behind it. I'm just curious. I want to know.
And granted, I think there's people that you can do this with. Like, obviously you and I are very comfortable. Like, but what about this? And we don't take it personal. Yeah. But I do think that there's other people, or there's not a lot of people, or not everybody. You can't just be like, why? You can't do that to everybody. So be careful.
Yeah.
Have arguments or have discussions with people that you feel comfortable with and are able to not take things personally.
And who you can have it like open dialogue. You and I can agree to disagree, and that's okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that I agree to disagree with my mom about.
Yeah.
And I always tell her, that's where I get it from. I just go, okay, and she gets pissed.
Okay, okay.
Well, what do you want me to say? Agree to disagree, we'll never agree. Okay, oh my god, she gets so upset because she thinks I'm like, no, you're stupid. I don't care what you're saying. But anyways, in conclusion, it's okay to agree to disagree with a lot of things.
Yeah. And I think, again, going back to when we started, or the beginning of this today's session, I think it's really like I said earlier, maybe it's like at a spectrum.
Yeah.
And we can view it at that, where it's like some people, we all have different preferences, and that's okay.
Yeah. I think our society's in a really interesting spot where labels they're very prominent. Like there's labels for everything, and sometimes that facilitates, but sometimes that complicates, because once we label something, we feel like we're stuck in that.
Yeah. And we're not. And I also think that, like, part of the stereotypes, or part of our just reflecting, whoever asked this question, like, I think it's also important to take time to honor maybe some of the privileges that we have, either whether you're a male or a female, or however you identify. Like, what are maybe some of the privileges that you can identify? Because as a mujer, I know that I also have a lot of privileges too.
It's true.
So I think, and with this, like,
reframe that into positive thinking.
So therapeutic. O sea, por eso me dedico a lo que me dedico.
Focused.
Oh, man.
No, but that's a good perspective, to take that perspective of like, yeah, there's gender roles, but how does this serve me? I guess, right? How is this, like you said, what privilege do I have? It is an honor to be a woman, because it is an honor to be a man, because that's your homework.
Yep.
Anything else? I feel like if we keep going, we're just gonna keep going.
Yeah, I think with this suggestion, I think it's really
so broad. There's so much.
Yeah. And I think, hopefully you guys kind of understood where we're coming from, or where we're coming from, or what we were trying to say.
Like, watching us think out loud. I think we just think. We always think. We never solve anything. But I think that's also...
I would never solve it.
Is anything ever solved, though? I feel like that's where my mind goes. I feel like there's always, like, more things to add to, like, discussions,
I could see what you're saying. Okay.
My brain's always thinking. Well, no, I'm... Not to the point where I can't... Well, I can stop sometimes, but... there's just so much to learn, so...
Yeah.
So I guess we'll end there, because, like I said, si no, nos vamos. Y seguimos.
Yeah. So thank you for the suggestion. And
we will bid you goodbye. We'll see you next week.
Bye.